Hello, nurse. It's me again, top dog, king of the class, King K. Rule. I school the fool who thinks that I drool, and I'm going to make you so scared that you no longer can go to school. Instead, you're going to have to study the picture pages and the signs on the wall. Allow me to read some to you. There was this show called Picture Pages that starred disgraced comedian Bill Cosby in the 1980s. Every week you tune in to see Cosby present various drawings and have the preschool children match shapes and identify colors using a workbook that children could order through the mail. This was before the internet, and the workbook could take weeks to arrive, trust me. Now, I'm not sure what happened to Cosby. He was one of my personal heroes. When I found the Picture Pages VHS in the bargain bin at T.J. McDowdery's, a local grocery store, I quickly nabbed it and brought it to the register. Oh, the VHS smelled of sweet sulfur and had clearly been watched many times. Yet they were selling it as though it was brand new. When I went to purchase the tape, they refused to ring it up. And when I asked if there was an accompanying workbook, they just ignored me. I wanted to get the book so I could read along and solve the picture pages with Bill Cosby. But the books cost thousands online as they're 40 years old, and on this particular VHS, his eyes were bloodshot. He looked slightly disheveled. Each episode had a title theme, like Animals or Clear Thinking. How do they come up with this stuff? This one was entitled Kill Bosby. I put the tape in and took a deep breath, feeling very concerned something was off about all of this. Cosby smiled at the camera. "You have your picture pages, do you?" He smiled, winked, whispered, "Picture pages," several times while the camera zoomed in on his right hand, which was holding Mortimer Ichabod Marker, a pink and yellow bee-themed pen that Cosby used to solve the picture pages. But the camera just keeps zooming while he discussed how he puts his pants on in the morning, and then mumbled about how he's trapped forever in 1980. A little odd, to say the least. Then he flipped the page. He demanded that we get our picture pages and showed us the first picture page. A copy of Cosby's own head. It had no eyes. This was disturbing. "What goes here?" he mumbled and started drawing someone else's eyes that were clearly not Bill Cosby's. He just kept drawing eyes, hundreds of eyes, like that of a spider. Then he screamed something really strange. "Oh, hey, for your ceiling and eat fruit fly pies!" He started licking his lips, perspiring, insisted he wasn't a spider, and began to fondle Mortimer Ichabod Marker. Bill Cosby smiled a truly sinister smile and flipped over his picture page to the next picture page. The words on the next page concerned me. Bill Cosby said, "Do you like to play in a band or eat your pudding?" This picture page was quite blank, but it said, It said, "I love dra blanking and ra blanking," with an exclamation mark at the end. Dra-ing and ra-ing. We were supposed to fill in the blank. Cosby smiled. His sweater was frayed, and his eyes looked a little beady. "You know, I could just reach into the back of your skull and pull your soul out with my index fingers." What the hell did that even mean? "Did you solve it, kiddos?" I didn't have the coloring books. Of course I couldn't solve it. He smiled wide and filled in the blanks. He added 2 M's and a K to make the statement, I love drumming and raking. What on earth? He began to hit some drums loudly with one hand, making fish faces, spinning in circles, raking the studio floor, which had nothing on it, raking and drumming, faster and louder. Picture pages! Picture pages! He screamed. He just keep screaming, and he was holding a disconnected telephone now, crying on the other line, demanding to know where his children Theo and Rudy were. Bill Cosby flipped the page. The camera cut, and it looked like he had some head wound with blood dripping down the side of his face. On this picture page was a drawing of Lucifer or the devil. This shocked me. I never imagined I'd see Cosby drawing a mustache on Satan. He started to lick the picture pages, sensually kissing the drawing of Satan, as saliva dripped down the canvas, staining Cosby's lips, making it look as though he had applied some form of lipstick and started kissing himself and taking his clothes off. He flipped the page, revealing a drawing of an ice-cold drink wet with drawn perspiration. Check your picture pages to see what goes in the drink, Cosby smiled. He took out a knife and began to cut the center of his middle finger, drawing blood, and smeared it across the canvas. You want your jello pudding, Pops? His eyes darted around the room, and Cosby began to cry. Ice cubes are square! He screamed and drew a pentagram in the middle of the ice-cold drink. He quickly reached in and tore up a few pages, leering around the studio. He screamed painfully and tried to tear his own head off, blowing on a tuba, throwing various lobsters from his pockets, mumbling about Coca-Cola, demanding a human sacrifice. The canvas lay on the floor now as Cosby mumbled something about how spiders are not insects and arachnids have no bones. The pen, Mortimer Ichabod marker. Cosby screamed. The pen does not control me, he murmured, wrestling his right arm to the ground. He started screaming, cursing the earth, fish faces maximized, eyes popping out at maximum jibba-jabba, flailing as he clutched the pen. The pink-headed eraser with the smiley face and bee body. Mortimer Ichabod Crane, I'll cast you to hell! Cosby screamed, and it began to storm in the studio, water pouring and lightning striking. He started to scribble on his face, breaking his glasses, stabbing himself with the pen. I will cut it off, he hissed, knocking his own teeth in as the pen drew the words Kill Bosby across his face. Kill Bosby, he screamed. Kill Bosby. The pen wasn't responding or even moving. It was just a pen. What was most disturbing was that he was clearly the one holding the pen, and Mortimer Ichabod marker, the pink pen, just smiled a strong smile as Cosby surged with such intense ire that I now worried he'd be devoured alive by his picture pages creations. Bill Cosby confessed that there was no accompanying workbook for picture pages. He had made the whole thing up, that he wanted the audience to feel a sense of regret at not having something, and that he had drowned Claire Huxtable and his children in a bathtub. He, in fact, claimed now that he was Cliff Huxtable, the doctor from the Cosby Show, and that the real Bill Cosby never existed. He had changed his identity multiple times, using fake names like Carlos Slim and Tedrin Ruxby. The Cosby we knew and loved was a figment of our imaginations. In fact, the actor who played him changed multiple times throughout the years, as the Cosby mythology turned fiction into fact. He started coughing and pudding poured out of his eyes, his nose, pudding in his armpits, pudding pouring from every orifice as he slowly melted like a wax sculpture in the hot sun. He angrily grabbed Mortimer Ichabod Marker and shoved him up his own ass as he screamed and squealed and melted into a puddle of warm, steaming Jell-O pudding. He made one final fish face as his face melded into a pog-shaped artifice and began to trickle across the floor. The disgraced, twisted, malformed comedian was now little more than the various sugar-coated pudding snacks he proclaimed would make our hearts sing with chocolate-coated delight. The tape just sort of sat there now. I thought maybe it had frozen. The special effects people did a great job with this episode, but I still had no idea what any of this meant. Eventually, some black spider-like objects, spiders, began feeding on the Jell-O pudding, licking it up with their many mandibles, eating the remains of Jell-O Cosby, a spider Jell-O funeral, if you will. Then they lit candles and climbed into the book and pulled it shut with their 8 hairy legs while I heard someone faintly blowing raspberries to the terrible tinge of a tuba. The ghostly ghost of one William Bill Cosby. The faint remnants of the salmon-coated fish faces and the foulest of foul flang flannel. The camera zoomed out now disturbingly. It was the set from the Cosby Show, the living room area. Cosby, or Cliff, had merely painted part of the wall to create the illusion that he was in a studio presenting picture pages. There was no cameraman, which explained why the camera on picture pages never moved. The cast members of the original Cosby lay on the floor dead. Their skin was blue, and one had a plastic bag over its head. I'm not sure if it was acting or merely some wax dummies they'd used to create the impression that Cosby had killed his family. The torn canvas had a drawing of the room they were in, and that canvas had a drawing of the room it was in, and so forth. Cosby, the myth, the thought, the idea, was nowhere to be seen. On the living room table were several half-drunk drinks and creepy plastic spiders and a piñata of his severed head, and various pictures of Bill Cosby, which now started to look less than like Bill Cosby. Who was Bill Cosby? And on the couch, the only thing in the room not damaged, there on the center cushion, sat a familiar friend, Mortimer Ichabod Marker, who Cosby used to draw his picture pages. Untouched, unscathed, sat on the couch, smiling away. As the screen faded.